Okay, good afternoon, dear friends. Bruchim Habayim to the Kollel Agar de Perka, Monday afternoon, National Shir. This is the preparation shir for the Tainis Haba Alinu L'Tova Asara B'Teves. Asara B'Teves, the 10th of Teves. The 10th of Teves is not only a one-day fast, but it's a number of different troubling incidents happened in connection with this day, starting from the 8th, which is the Petira of Nehemiah. They wanted that we should translate the Torah into Greek. On the 9th, the Petira of Ezra, and the 10th, they surrounded the walls of Yerushalayim in the times of the destruction of the first Beis HaMikdash, Nebuchadnezzar. If you don't yet have the Sefer, The Darkness and the Dawn, get it in time for Asar B'Teves, and it will elevate your understanding of this important day in the Jewish calendar. The Darkness and the Dawn. You could get it now, artscroll.com. If anybody would like to participate in upcoming publications, the Ben La'ashri, we're calling it Berchas HaTzadik. The Ben La'ashri writes that those who say over his Divrei Torah, he will pray for them to bail them out in this world and in the next world. So that has been submitted for publication if anybody would like to participate. Okay, we have a very powerful topic today regarding Asara B'Teves, and I'm going to put the Marmakomis up on the screen. And I would like to add some new information to this in light of some important things that we've been learning of recent. Chazal tell us in the Gemara in Psachim that at the end of the life of Yaakov Avinu, really as reported in this week's Parsha, Yaakov Avinu called his children. He says, he gathers them. He'asvu va'agida lachem es asher yikra eschem be'acharis hayamim. Gather, and I will let you know what will occur in the end of days. And Chazal tell us that Yaakov Avinu wanted to reveal when the Mashiach would come. Bikesh l'galos hasaketz, and the Shechina left him. The Gemara in Psachim says, if you look on the sheet in number 7, the Gemara in Psachim says, Amar Reb Shimon Lakish, Vayikra Yaakov el banav, Vayomer he'asvu, ve'agida lachem, Bikesh Yaakov l'galos l'banav ketz hayamin. Yaakov wanted to reveal the end to his children, Menestalka mimena Shechina, and the Shechina left him. Amar, he said, Shema chas v'shalom, yesh b'mitasi psul. Maybe there's some kind of disqualification in my descendants. Ka'avraham sheyatzu mimeno Yishmael, like Avraham that Yishmael came out. Va'avi Yitzchak sheyatzu mimeno Esav, and like my father Yitzchak that Esav came out. Amru lai banav, his children said, don't worry. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. Amru kishem shein belibcha ela echad, kachem libeinu ela echad. They said, just like in your heart there's only one, so too in our heart there's only one. Okay, so this Gemara implies Yaakov Avinu wanted to reveal the end, and the Shechina left him against his will. He was afraid that maybe his children were undeserving, whereupon they said, don't worry, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. How exactly was the pasuk of Shema a way of denoting their righteousness? Doesn't everybody say Shema? Isn't Shema one of the most basic precepts and tenets of our religion? Is this really a sign of their loyalty to Hashem? I mean, everyone says Shema. And what did Yaakov Avinu respond back? Yaakov Avinu said back, Baruch Shem Kavod Machusay Li'olam Va'ed. Is that also somehow symbolic of the loyalty of the Jewish people? What exactly is the meaning of this conversation? Let's talk a little bit about Asara B'Teves. You know, our fast days are days that tragedy happened. For example, Tisha B'Av, the first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. The second Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. Beitar was plowed. The Mishnah in Masechta Tainis lists 5 tragedies that happened on Tisha B'Av. The Mishnah tells us that Beitar was captured, Yerushalayim was plowed over. Also the 17th of Tammuz. 17th of Tammuz, the walls of Yerushalayim were breached, and a Sefer Torah was burnt by Apostolos, and Avodah Zarah was erected in the Heichal. So great tragedies happened on these days. But more than just that great tragedies, terrible tragedies happened on this day, there's a reason why terrible tragedies happened on this day. You know why terrible tragedies happened on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz? Because the 17th day of Tammuz is the day that we sinned with the golden calf. It's the day of the Chet HaEgal. So because this day has been stamped and seared as a day of sin, it has become a day of Paranios, a day of great punishment. It's not just misfortune struck on this day. Misfortune struck on this day because this was a day that we sinned. It's not just bad things happened to us, it's that we did bad things on this day, therefore this day was a lightning rod for bad things to happen. Moreover, Tisha B'Av, it's not just bad things happened on Tisha B'Av. We did bad things on Tisha B'Av. What did we do on Tisha B'Av? The sin of the spies, of the Meraglim. So if we analyze the fast days, they're not just days that tragedy happened, they're days that we sinned. We committed a great sin, a historic sin. The golden calf was made on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz. The sin of Shiva Asar the sin of the Meraglim, the spies, was on Tisha B'Av. So the sin of the Meraglim was Tisha B'Av. The Chet HaEgal was Shiva Asar B'Tammuz. But what happened on Asar B'Teves? Did anything happen on Asar B'Teves that it should be a day of misfortune? That this should be the day that they surrounded and they set siege to the city of Yerushalayim? I understand tragedy happened, but our fast days are not only days of tragedy, they're days of sin. So we sinned on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz with the spies. We sinned on Tisha B'Av. We sinned on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz with the golden calf. We sinned on Tisha B'Av with the spies. But what sin did we commit on Asar B'Teves? What exactly is the sin of Asar B'Teves? Moreover, take a look in Yechezkel. Ben Adam kisav lecha es shem hayoim es etzem hayoim hazeh Samach Melech Bavel Yerushalayim be'etzem hayoim hazeh. First of all, I'm sure you know the comments of the Avudraham that Asar B'Teves is the only fast that if it would come out on Shabbos, we would fast even on Shabbos, because it says be'etzem hayoim hazeh, and it says by Yom Kippur be'etzem hayoim hazeh. But the question is, what does the Navi mean? Write the name of the day es etzem hayoim hazeh. Well, what's the difference between the shame of the yom and etzem hayoim? What is the meaning of these two expressions, shame hayoim, etzem hayoim? As we mentioned, there were a number of tragedies that clustered around the day of the 10th of Tammuz. On the 8th, the Torah was translated into Greek. Darkness descended to the world for 3 days. Nehemiah died on the 8th of Teves. Furthermore, Ezra HaSofer passed away on the 9th. Why didn't all these tragedies happen on the 10th? 5 tragedies happened on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, not on the 16th of Tammuz and the 15th. We don't say, well, this one, the walls were breached on the 14th, and a Sefer Torah was burnt on the 15th, and an idol was erected on the 16th, and something else happened on the 17th. They all happened on the same day. Megalgan Chayv Liyam Chayev, the same thing for Tisha B'Av. We don't say certain things happened around the 9th of Av. Everything happened on the 9th of Av. And why is it then by Asar B'Teves do we say that certain tragedies happened around that time? So as pointed out, Shavasa Tammuz, the Jewish people sinned with the Egal. The 9th of Av, they sinned with the Meraglim. Even some Gedalia, they killed Gedalia. That was a great sin. But what do we do wrong in Asar B'Teves? So the Chassam Sofer has a wondrous approach. Says the Holy Chassam Sofer that normally the tragedy and the misfortune of fast days are the day of the month it happened. The 17th of Tammuz, the 9th of Av. But when it comes to Teves, it's not the 10th of Teves. There's no significance to the 10th of Teves. It's the day of the year it is. You know what Asar B'Teves is? It's the 98th day of the year. Now sometimes the 98th day of the year will come out on the 10th of Teves. If both Cheshvan and Kislev are chaser, then the 98th day of the year will be the 10th of Teves. If both of those months are malay, 30 days, then the 98th day of the year will be the 8th of Teves. If one is malay and one is chaser, then the 98th day of the year will be the 9th of Teves. When it comes to this fast, it's not the day of the month that caused it. It's not the misfortune of the day. It's the numbered day of the year, the 98th day of the year. Because the number 98 is an ominous number. Why is it an ominous number? Because there are 98 curses in the Teichacha. There are 98 punishments mentioned in the retribution of the Torah. Therefore, the number 98 is an ominous number. So while Tisha B'Av, a sin happened, namely the sin of the spies, and on Shavas Tammuz, the sin of the golden calf, no sin happened on Asar B'Teves. Instead, Asar B'Teves is an ominous date. It's the 98th day of the year. And therefore, Hashem says, look, I want you to understand, to write Shem Hayom, the name of the day is Asar B'Teves. But the Etzem Hayom, the root of the day, the essence of the day, the Etzem Hayom it's the 98th day of the year. And the king Nebuchadnezzar, he relied on Asar B'Teves being the 98th day of the year, that he would be successful, because the number 98 is an ominous number. So, Samach Melech Bavel El Yushalayim Be'etzem Hayom Hazeh, Nebuchadnezzar relied on this. He was soymech on it. Samach Melech Bavel Yushalayim Be'etzem Hayom Hazeh. That is what Nebuchadnezzar relied upon. So let's investigate the connection between Asar B'Teves being the 98th day of the year and the essence of Asar B'Teves. I want to share with you the observation of Rabbi Asher Weiss in his English book on Sefer Bereshis. Rabbi Asher Weiss points out that the story of Yosef, of all the narratives in Bereshis, the one that is discussed in the greatest length, that occupies more parshios than any other subject in Bereshis, is the story of Yosef, his brothers, his dreams, his conflict, his slavery, his imprisonment, his rise to power, his reuniting with his family. It covers 1/3 of the Sefer. It covers Vayeshev, Miketz, Vayigash, and Vayechi. The lives of the Avos are described in even less detail. Why is this subject the subject that occupies more space than any other subject in the whole Chumash? Let's come back to the life of Yaakov Avinu, because the Gemara in Pesachim implies Yaakov Avinu wanted to reveal the end, and he couldn't. Nistalka mimena Shechina. And yet Rabbeinu Bechaye cites a medrash, a very interesting medrash. Rabbeinu Bechaye said that Yaakov Avinu studied the letters of the 12 Shvatim, and he saw they had every letter except for Ches and Tes. They had every letter except for Ches and Tes. Yaakov Avinu said, well, you have no Chet. I need to reveal when the Kates will be. You have no ches and tes in your names. In the 49 letters of the Shvatim, there was no ches and tes. So Yaakov Avinu was going to reveal the kates. Upon further analysis, Yaakov realized there's also no kuf and no tzadi. So he says, if there's no kuf and no tzadi, I cannot reveal the kates to you. And therefore, he decided not to reveal the kates. So first of all, that contradicts the Gemara. The Gemara says he couldn't reveal the kates. And here it's saying that he chose not to because they don't have a kuf or a tzadi. So was it that he couldn't, or was it that he chose not to? How do we understand that? Another important question is, why did Yaakov Avinu at first only see that there is no ches and tes in the name, and only later realize there's also no kuf and sadi? As soon as he started thinking about the names of his children, he should have realized immediately there's no kuf, there's no tzadi, there's no ches, there's no tes. Why did he first only recognize there's no ches and no tes, and only after discover there's also no kuf and no tzadi? So comes Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Chaver, and he paints for us a very powerful picture of what's holding up the end and what it's going to take for the Geula to come, and why the Shechina really left Yaakov Avinu. Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Chaver explains that in order for us to be a vehicle and a viable entity, we have to be a single unit. We need achdus. We have to consider and reckon every Jew as a vital part of our nation. And we operate as one entity. Yeah, there are different groups, and each group is further subdivided into lesser groups. So you have Ashkenazim, you have Sfardim, maybe you have Hasidim, and each Hasidus, there are different types of Hasidus, and then there's Hasidus 33rd Street and Hasidus 35th Street. No problem. You could have different groups and different subgroups and different subgroups. As long as everyone recognizes that a Jew and every Jew is a critical part of the unit, and that is Israel, that is the Jewish people. And when we are all part of one unit, then Mashiach could come to this unit that is Ba'achdos. Here's the problem. When the Shvatim sold Yosef HaTzadik, they splintered this unit called Israel. They splintered the Jewish people. And now we are no longer Yisrael. We are splintered groups. There is no Shalom. And when there's no Shalom, there is no Shechina. And the Shechina left Yaakov Avinu. We tend to look at it that the reason why the Shechina left Yaakov Avinu is because when Yosef left, Yaakov was saddened, and because Yaakov was saddened, the Shechina couldn't be with him. Ein Shechina shara ela mitach simcha. That's how we like to think of it. Yaakov was not in a good mood, and therefore the Shechina left. No, that's not the real explanation. The real explanation is the Shechina can only rest on the Jewish people when we're a unit. When Yosef was sold and the unit was splintered, the Shechina can no longer rest on Yaakov Avinu. So when does the Shechina return back to Yaakov Avinu? When Yaakov hears Yosef's alive, that means the entity is intact. The unit of Israel is intact. So we're one entity, we're one gathering, we're one Am. So now the Shechina vatichi ruach Yaakov avihem. We asked if Yaakov saw there was no ches and tes in the letters of the Shvatim, should he not have realized right away that there's no kuf and sadi? So the Chassam Sofer writes in Drushim v'Agados Chassam Sofer that granted Yaakov knew from the start, he knew from the get-go, there is no kuf and no tzadi among the Jewish people. The problem is, not the problem, he said there's no ches and no tes, But even though there's no kuf and no tzadi, there's a way to make up for that. The kibbutz of Yisrael, kivutzas Yisrael, mekabetz nidchei amo Yisrael. The word kibbutz has a kuf and a tzadi in it. So although the names themselves as independent names do not have a kuf and do not have a tzadi, nevertheless the collective gathering of the Jewish people do have a kuf and a tzadi. That's why Yaakov Avinu says, Hey kavtzu, gather, Hey asvu, va'agida lachem, He kavtzu v'shamu, gather as one unit. Gather as one unit. If you gather as one unit, then I will be able to tell you the kates. And Yaakov, in fact, was going to tell his children the kates, because what was lacking in their lettering was present in the collective gathering. In fact, the Beis Yosef brings from Shibbolei Aleket a historical account of the formation of the Shemoneh Esrei when Avram Avinu was saved from Ur Kasdim. Then the bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem, Magen Avraham, shield of Abraham, was formulated. And when Yitzchak was saved from the Akedah, the bracha of Mechaye HaMesim was formulated. And when all the brothers gathered in Egypt as one, they formulated the bracha, Mekabetz Nidchei Amo Yisrael. So Yaakov Avinu, at first, maybe was hesitant to tell them the kates, because he saw they didn't have the letters Kuf and Sadi, but when he saw that they were Bekibutz, they were as one unit, the collective gathering of all 12 Shvatim around the bed of Yaakov Avinu, indicated to him that in fact they had a certain unity that allowed the Kuf and the Tzadi to be present. However, at that auspicious time, it was revealed to Yaakov Avinu, Beruach HaKodesh, that Vayimaruhu Varoibu, Vayistimuhu Baalei Chitzim, that the brothers were the ones who embittered Yosef's life. The brothers were the ones who sold him. And despite the superficial look of unity that they're displaying at that moment, gathered around the deathbed of Yaakov Avinu, he realized that in fact they were disparate and they were still splintered, and therefore Yaakov Avinu had no choice but to say, I cannot tell you when the end will come. But on a deeper level, says Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Chaver, Yaakov Avinu maybe at this moment realized that they had come together, and there was a certain unity now. But Yaakov looked off into the future, and Yaakov wanted to reveal when Mashiach would come. But he sees that in the end of days, there's going to be an issue. And that issue is the deficiency which doesn't allow the redemption to come, is the fact that we are not together, we are not ba'achdos. So when Chazal say Yaakov Avinu wanted to reveal the end and the Shechina departed, Yaakov Avinu wanted to reveal when exactly the redemption will come, but looking into the future, he was not able to envision it and see it because of the sinah that would exist among the Jewish people, similar to what happened with the brothers and Yosef HaTzadik. But the brothers were trying to tell Yaakov Avinu, look, we do have achdos. And how did the brothers try to say that? They said, Shma Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Whereupon Yaakov Avinu responds, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusai Li'olam Va'ed. How is this a display of achdos? How is this a way to alleviate the concern of Yaakov Avinu? Dear friends, says Rav Asher Weiss, the reason why the story of Yosef occupies more space in the Torah than any other subject is because the story of Yosef is more relevant to any subject in the Torah in our times and for all generations. Says Rav Asher Weiss, surely this is because Yosef's story has the greatest relevance to our own lives. It was the senseless hatred between the brothers that led to their descent into Egypt, where their children were enslaved and tortured for hundreds of years. Many generations later, punishment was again exacted when Rabbi Akiva and 9 fellow Tannaim were executed by the Romans. Although we cannot claim to understand the depth of Hashem's judgment, it is clear that the direct cause of our suffering, both now and throughout history, is unjustifiable strife and bickering. We conclude Sefer Bereshis and the narrative of the lives of the Avos with this crucial message, which cries out to each and every one of us. The senseless bickering is the cause of our trouble. The story of Yosef is a story that reverberates until the end of time. But dear friends, during which period of time did the sin of senseless hatred was it most prevalent? We know during the times of the second Beis Hamikdash. The second Beis Hamikdash was destroyed because of sinas chinam. What's the numerical value of chinam? That's right, Ches is 8, Nun is 50, Mem is 40, 98. 98. You know, Rashi says in Parshas Pinchas, the toichacha, the curses of the toichacha of Parshas Kisavai are 98 curses. Says the Chida, if there are 98 curses in the toichacha, and the Zohar teaches that they all were fulfilled in the times of the second Beis Hamikdash, it's not a coincidence that the 98 curses of the second Beis Hamikdash were at a time that we sinned with sinas chinam, 98. Because we sinned with senseless hatred, therefore we were visited with the 98 klalos of the Toichacha. The Holy Chida writes in Midbar Kedemos, Ulafi divrei Hazayar Chadash, that the Toichacha of Kisavai was fulfilled during Bayis Sheni. Everything fits well. Bayis Sheni was destroyed because of sinas chinam. The Toichacha are 98 klalos. Gematria chinam. This is the meaning of the pasuk. Chinam nimkartem v'loy bekesef tigaelu. For free you are sold, you will not be redeemed with money. Well, Chazal say money is mitzvahs. So we read the pasuk as follows. Since the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed because of sinas chinam, we will not be redeemed if we do mitzvahs. Because the problem was not that we weren't doing mitzvahs. The problem was we didn't have ahava. So, chinam nimkartem, we were sold because of sinas chinam. Therefore, we will not be redeemed because of mitzvahs. V'loy b'kesav tigailu, we will not be redeemed because of mitzvahs. We will only be redeemed because of chinam, because of ahavas chinam. So it means the 98 curses of the Toichacha were all fulfilled in the times of Sinas Chinam during the second Beis HaMikdash. But Asara B'Teves is what day of the year? The 98th day of the year. Well, then Asara B'Teves must have something to do with Sinas Chinam. And what was the ultimate act of Sinas Chinam in our history? Mechiras Yosef. Wouldn't it be something if somehow the sale of Yosef had something to do with Asara B'Teves? Indeed, Reb Shlomo Fisher of Drashos Beis Yishai writes, Chelek Aleph Siman Lamed. And this really answers the Chassam Sofer's question. You know, Shiva Asar B'Tammuz is the day of the Chet HaMeraglim, and the day of the Chet HaEgel, and the 9th of Av is the day of the Chet HaMeraglim. But what happened on Asar B'Teves? He says, Ilulei de Mistafina, I would say Asar B'Teves is the day of Mechiras Yosef. Joseph was sold on Asar B'Teves. So that means Asar B'Teves is the ultimate day of Sinas Chinam. So you think it's a coincidence? It's the 98th day of the year. It's the day of Chinam. It's the day of Sinas Chinam. It's the day of Mechiras Yosef. And by the way, you know, there's another offering of the Sefer Pnei Ari Yezuta, my friend Rafael Ansel of France showed me. He makes a cheshbon that Yosef reveals himself to his brothers, Ani Yosef ha'oida vichai, an Asara B'Teves. Which would have to be. Because if you're gonna, it supports the Beis Yishai. Because we know Yosef was in captivity for 22 years. So if he revealed himself on Asar B'Teves, he must have been sold on Asar B'Teves. Then, in order for it to be 22 years. I mean, these two chidushim, the chidush of the Beis Yishai, that Yosef was sold on Asar B'Teves, the chidush of the Pnei Ari Yizute, that Yosef revealed himself on Asar B'Teves, they complement each other very beautifully. Asar B'Teves then also is a day seared in sin. The sin of the spies, Tisha B'Av. The sin of the calf, Shavas B'Tammuz. The murder of a Gedalia, Tzom Gedalia. The sale of Yosef, Asar B'Teves. You know, there are two historic sins in our history. We say, Ki ata salchan li Yisrael, u'machalan l'shivtei Yishuran, b'chol dar v'adar. We say, you atone li Yisrael, and you are moichel shivtei Yishuran. The Meshech Chachma says, Ki ata salchan li Yisrael, for the sin of the golden calf, u'machalan l'shivtei Yishuran, the sale of Yosef. Says the Beis Yishai, this happened on Asar B'Teves. Asar B'Teves is the 98th day of the year, the day of Sinas Chinam. Marv Rabbi Sai, I would like to add this year an amazing addition. In the Sefer Kesef Nivchar, he brings that by the Klalois in Mishnah Torah, Moshe mipi atzmai amru. And he wants to know, the Medrash comments on in Parshas Re'eh, what does it say before? It says, Kiyim Shamar Tishmarun as Kol HaMitzvah. That's Kriya Shema, the Medrash says. Why Kriya Shema? What, somehow Kriya Shema is a protection for the klalos of the Teichacha? He brings the question of the Mefarshim, why is it by the bracha of the Teichacha, Asher Tishmeu, it's Vadai, and by the klalos, Im Loi Sishmeu, only if you don't listen, it's a suffix. The answer is there must be a way to be Mavatal the klalos of the Teichacha. By saying Shema. How? How many letters in the first pasuk of Shema? Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad? 25. How many letters in Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Alei Avad? 24. What's 25 and 24? 49. And what if you say Shema morning and evening? 98. Shema protects you from the Teichacha. That's why by the brachais, Asher Tishma'u, you're going to get the brachais. The klalais, you won't necessarily get the klalais. If you say Shema, the 49 letters of Shema and Baruch Shem in the morning, the 49 letters of Shema and Baruch Shem in the evening, a total of 98, you'll be protected from the 98 klalais of the Teichacha. That's why Chazal say when the Jewish people heard the 98 klalais, their faces turned white. Why didn't their face turn white when they heard the 49 klalos of Bechukaisai? The answer is the 49 klalos they were never worried about. Because that they knew they could be Mavato with the 49 letters of Kriya Shema. But when they heard 98, they got nervous. They didn't realize that the 49 of the morning and the 49 of the evening could be Mavato, the 98 klalos. So what we're learning is Shema is Mavato, the klalos of the Teichacha. How? Friends, when were we visited with the curses of the Teichacha? By Yesheni. What Aveira did we do that warranted the curses of the Teichacha? Sinas Chinam. Chinam is 98. Shema, by saying the 98 words of Shema, that also is Mavatal, the 98 curses. You know how? Because let's remind ourselves of one of the primary meanings of the Pasuk Shema Yisrael. The Vilna Gaon says this. The Sefer Charedim says this. Shema is a lashon of Vayishama Shaol Es Ha'am. Shaul galvanized and gathered and unified the people. Shema Yisrael, unite Israel. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem is our God. Hashem Echad, the Lord is one. By the way the Vilna Gaon explains, the way the Sefer Charedim explains, The Jewish people are the ambassadors of God. How do we declare God's oneness? By saying, one is Hashem, one is Hashem, one is... How do we declare God's oneness? By making speeches? Nobody listens to speeches. You know how we declare God's oneness? We unite as one people, and the Jewish people reflect the unity of God. The unity of Klal Yisrael. Ata echad, v'shimcha echad, u'mi ka'amecha Yisrael, goy echad ba'aretz. The unity of the Jewish people reflects the unity of God. That's why when we splinter into different segments, Hayotzei min haklal, kol ha'poresh min hatzibur, kilu kafar be'ikar. If you're poresh min hatzibur, then you're giving a message. There are two gods. So, that's how Shema is mevatel, the klolos of the Toichacha. The Toichacha comes for Sinas Chinam, 98. The 98 words of Shema unites the people, makes us ba'achdus. We don't need the klolos of the Toichacha. The 98 klolos of the Toichacha come for Sinas Chinam. Shema is mevatel that. Shema is ma'achid Klal Yisrael. So therefore, when Yaakov Avinu said, the Kates will never come, you made Yosef's life miserable, and you guys are never going to get along. The response of the Shvatim is, no, Yaakov Avinu. We're really one. Yaakov says, you're one? How are you one? Shema Yisrael, gather Israel. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem is our God. Hashem Echad, Hashem is one. The unity of the Jewish people, declared and expressed in Shema, is the unity of Klal Yisrael and the unity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shema is mevatel the klolos of the Toichacha. Shema is mevatel Asara B'Teves, the 98th day of the year. Do you think it's then a coincidence that in this week's Parsha we have the bittul of Asara B'Teves? Vayechi is the Parsha of Asara B'Teves, and the way it is nullified, the way the 98th day of the year is neutralized, the way the klolos of the 98 klolos of the Torah is neutralized, is with the 98 words of Shema Yisrael. Marv Rabbi said, what an amazing revelation. Asara B'Teves is the day of the sale of Yosef. It's the day of the revelation of Yosef. Asara B'Teves, therefore, is a day that one day will turn into great redemption for the Jewish people. If we could just chinam nimkartem v'loy bekesef tega'elu, if on this day we could work to rectify that sin of Mechiras Yosef, the sin of Sinas Chinam, and overcome the 98 through Shema Yisrael, the declaration of unity of the Jewish people, the Chida writes in the Nachal Kidum in Parshas Kisavai, Nagila v'nismach habach, Nagila is Gematria 98, because we are vouchsafed that the Tzoim Ho'asiri, the fast of the 10th month, the fast of Asar B'Teves, the 10th month of the year, will be transformed for Klal Yisrael. L'sasoin, u'lesimcha, u'l'mayadim toivim, v'ha'emes v'ha'shalom ehavu. By the way, if you add up 4 and 5 and 7 and 10, 4 and 5 is 9 and 7 is 16 and 10 is 26, the Shem Havaya. The fast of the 10th month of the year, Asara B'Teves. If Mashiach was born on Tisha B'Av, he was conceived 7 months before, in the fast of the 10th month. So you have from the 10th to Tisha B'Av is the fast of the 5th, and the conception of Mashiach was 7 months before Tisha B'Av. As says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, Mashiach is conceived on Asara B'Teves. This is the day that has been seared, making us eligible for punishment for Sinas Chinam. It's the 98th day of the year. And the way we rectify that is Shema Yisrael. We tell Yaakov Avinu that we are gathered as one. We may belong to different groups and different even ideologies, but nevertheless at the core, we say Ata Echad, V'Shimcha Echad, and our greatest tikkun is Umi Ka'amcha Yisrael, Echad ba'aretz, that is what the Shvatim told Yaakov Avinu, and that will ultimately usher in the Kates when the Tzoim ha'asiri yiyah lebeis Yehuda l'sasayin u'lesimcha u'lemayadim tovim. Have a great day, everyone, and have an easy fast. Kol tov. Baruch Tiyah.